Now then,
Hey up.
it's been yet again long time no see. I think by now you all know why. Job changes, changes in day offs, but we've got a rare weekend together. Well, a
We
day.
have a rare weekend together. I'm pinching the mic. A rare weekend together. That's not that rare because actually, what you don't know is this is weekend number 2 in it
Yeah.
of a shoot at the quite magnificent looking Studley Royal in North Yorkshire, attached to Fountains Abbey. It's a beautiful deer park. The first sort of ideas for Into Wild started here in this very park about 5 years ago, which is mad, isn't it? In fact, it is 5 years ago. This month, probably.
Yeah.
When we came, Rosie wanted to do a shoot. She invited me along, and it was the beginnings of Into Wild. It's where, after that, only a couple of weeks afterwards, we were on a shift together, and I was like, mate, maybe we need to do that more often.
Because we did a live.
We did.
And
yes,
it
we
went
did.
quite
we
well.
did.
People
it went
were
well.
interested.
People enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So Into Wild was born here, and ever since then, we've sort of talked about going back to do a run. It's never worked out year on year. And this year, so since about February this year, since the rut last year, because we were out filming. I think we might have done a live. Rosie was getting some footage for some work at the time. And we thought we need to do the rut, but at that point it was quite late in the season. So we decided we were going to come back this year to do it, didn't we?
Yeah.
So last week, Rosie and I got up incredibly early on Saturday morning and had a drive down through South Yorkshire, right to the very fringes of South Yorkshire. In fact, at one point we did cross into Derbyshire, didn't we? To an area called Eastern Moors, which is an area of moorland. It's like the very beginnings of the Peak District, really. Went to a place on Big Moor, which is part of Eastern Moors. And Eastern Moors is like a collaborative work between the RSPB and National Trust. So both manage the land in various different ways. And we got some really nice footage last year of the... Oh, hello.
That was my stomach.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a deer.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Breakfast time. And we got some really nice footage of the red deer. So we went down last week, diligently got there before daybreak, and the weather was shocking, absolutely shocking.
It was so wet.
It really, really was wet, drizzly. The mist never cleared. It never really got daylight. We managed to get some footage of the deer, which you will be seeing. But there was no rutting going on, so we decided, I had another weekend off, and we decided to get up early this morning, and feeling a little bit like we're cheating. We've come to a deer park.
Not cheating.
No, cheating as in the footage we were going to get. Because a deer park, somehow it just feels different to getting that raw footage in the wild. But we do know, so we're at Studley Royal, like I say, it's a deer park. The cull occurred last week, by all accounts, so the deer are a bit more chilled today. And on the site here, there's 3 main species of deer. So there's the red deer, which was what we were hoping to film.
My favourite.
Fallow deer, Rosie's favourite. They get Sika deer. So the fallow and Sika are not native to this country. The reds are. But the fallows have been here a long time. It's thought the fallows were brought over by the Romans. Sika a bit later on. I'm not sure when, but likely it's those sort of Victorian collectors. So the Sikas are more an Asian species. And they do get the roes in here as well. They're nothing to do with the deer park. They are just the natural wild roes. So roe deer and red deer are the 2 native deer to the UK. Unfortunately, we still haven't got a rut, have we?
No.
But what we have managed to get is some really nice footage of deer in the autumn, because autumn time is that time when the deer really come to life. It's when the rut happens, and the rut is basically the males establishing their dominance. The rut will happen when the 2 males come in there, they lock antlers, and they really go for it. And the winner will basically get to keep all the females, weren't they? Basically, if you're
Yeah,
bringing
yeah,
it
yeah.
down to its sort of lowest common denominator, it's about keeping the females. What we've noticed whilst we've been here today is those sort of herds seem to be established.
Yeah.
The younger males are all sort of all together in their like little youthful groups, like teenagers hanging around.
YMCA.
Yeah. And the dominant males are keeping their harems in check. So
Yeah.
we've had quite a lot of bellowing going on,
Yeah.
but no rutting. But do you know what? It doesn't matter. It sort of matters to us, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter.
because
No.
do you know what? It's just another next year.
Exactly.
We will at some
will
point
get
get
it.
a proper
We will
good,
get it.
and we're hoping for rutting to the point where the antlers are covered in grasses and ferns and making themselves look massive. But what I will take out of today is one of the most spectacular sunrises, wasn't it? It was like really, really misty when we got here, and it was just that classic everything I love about autumn. The colour started to come through, but the sun hadn't quite broken through. We were walking down, sort of watching a massive male doing his bellowing and stuff like that. We turned around, the sun was catching on the mist, wasn't it?
Oh,
and
yeah.
then the deer sort of walking towards it was magical. So I can't remember if I got any footage of that or if I was too mesmerised, but you will see.
It was beautiful, and just the colours. Autumn is
Yeah.
definitely setting. The trees are on the turn, and we're at that real sort of liminal phase in the season when you just kind of feel. I certainly feel much more at one with the earth at this time of year. It's those times of year when our forefathers and our ancestors were really preparing for that change. And that's what that sort of liminal meaning is, that change from one time to another. In folklore, it's the time when people talk about us being far closer to the other world as well. And there's just lots of magic seems to happen at this time of year, and you can see where all those stories start to come from. And it's just been a lovely time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So hopefully you're going to really enjoy this episode. Like I said, no rut, but some nice footage of some beautiful autumnal creatures in their surroundings.
Just autumnal deer, really.
Just
isn't
autumnal
But,
deer. Yeah. Yeah.
There's no reason we can't do a fully autumn into wild
No, absolutely.
in a later date.
A later
We've got
date.
autumn's not fully set in yet,
No.
is it?
No. So shall we have a look at some deer?
Let's do it. Sit back
Relax.
and enjoy this episode.
The UK is home to various species of deer, including muntjac, Chinese water deer, fallow deer, and red deer. Red deer and roe deer are the two species that are native to the UK, with the others having been introduced throughout history. Throughout most of the year, deer spend their times separated by sex, with the males, or stags, being relatively solitary and being rather nomadic. The females, or hinds, however, do stick together in small matriarchal or mother groups that will spend their time grazing through forests. When autumn time comes, however, all of this changes, and the deer can be seen out in the open, up on our moorlands and open pastures. This is the time of the rut. During this time, the males literally strut their stuff in the open. They are pumped with testosterone and become quite aggressive. Behaviours include foot stamping, chasing off smaller males trying their chances, and raking the brush and filling their antlers with bracken and grasses, making their frame look larger and more imposing. These ritual-like behaviours are there to separate the wheat from the chaff, with the older, larger males having the more impressively pronged antlers, often being the victors, taking the harem of females for themselves. But if males of a similar size show no signs of either backing down, then things take a turn. This is when rituals aren't enough and things get physical. Similar to a gunfight in a western, the males will square up to each other, turn, take a few paces before turning back and running at each other at speed, locking antlers and butting heads. These one-on-one battles are a test of stamina and strength, with only one victor. Fights will continue until one of the stags submits and can last for hours. Fights can be brutal and will occasionally end in death if an antler manages to puncture the skull. But for both parties, regardless of the result, they are exhausting. Just as an update, we've just made a discovery. We're talking about mysticism and that sort of thing, and
Oh my god, it stinks of fish.
I've farted, and I'm not sorry because I've just discovered that Rosie felt I was talking about clairvoyancy, and Rosie went, "The clairvoyant," and I went, "What's the clairvoyant?" She went, "See, a clairvoyant." She went, "Oh, I thought you meant the clairvoyant," and it turns out that Rosie thought that the first person that could see people's futures was I'm assuming a lady called clairvoyant.
That was a thing. I thought, like, there must have been, like, in the 80s or something, like, a person on telly that you could see future, and she was called
like the
clairvoyant.
predecessor to Mystic Meg.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
So if you I went to see a Mystic Meg, I'd have been
No.
like, the Mystic Meg?
No,
Because there was
no.
originally one, I thought it was clairvoyant. Anyway. And I'm actually really sad it's not a person called clairvoyant.
It's not. Anyway.
Uh-oh. This is very slippery.
So graceful.
Oh, there's so much poop. Put my hand in poo. My bum's wet.
What's my hair doing?
It's lovely.
I mean, my left eye's looking a bit shite.
We both are, but that's alright. You're lovely.
I mean, do you want the mic?
Yeah. Right. Ready?
Ready?
Now then,
Hey up.
we are... I don't know what to say. I don't want to do a win here. Okay, let's go again.